This thing right here is a love-hate relationship.
Yeah, come on, baby!
This is my 2018 Iveco Daily 4x4, and we've had it since brand new. We've used and abused it all over Australia. Now in this video, we're going to look at the good, the bad, the sexy, and the ugly. We're going to work out why I've still got it. So let's check it out. Before we were blessed with the presence of the big Iveco, we had two Colorados that were our main cars for the TV shows. One's a Colorado 7 and one is a Colorado dual cab ute. Both are completely whacked out with all the accessories that you can fit on them. Now the dual cab is great because it's got that full area on the back. We can load stuff up into the tub. Whereas the wagon is also a different variation. It's got the core rear end, everything's internal, and it's just a little bit more comfortable to drive. Now I also own the 1978 FJ40 Land Cruiser, which is one of my favourite vehicles ever. It's got a fully worked 308 stroked out to 347 cubic inches. The 40 has a custom suspension setup that gives it amazing flex, and we're running 37-inch tyres on beadlock rims that make it almost unstoppable. It's a stack of fun to drive, but it's not the sort of vehicle that I'd like to take myself and the crew on a long drive to the centre. So when we're doing the longer trips and we're taking the camera crew and we're carrying a lot of gear, what do you think is the perfect vehicle? Well guys, welcome to the Iveco. Now this isn't actually the first Iveco that we had on the show. There were two predecessors, and whilst this one is affectionately referred to as orange, we actually had green and blue before. It definitely got me interested in the Iveco vehicles as a platform, and certainly showed me some of the advantages that this type of vehicle had to offer. Now green was the first one we got our hands on as a media vehicle from Iveco. We took that across the Simpson and a number of other trips around Australia. It was amazing to be driving around on a vehicle street legal on 37s, and I definitely got an insight into just how capable and agile these vehicles are. The two Colorados have been mostly retired and relegated to the camera crew vehicles. Now they've done a great job. The 40 series, well that's awesome for a bit of fun, but it can't be the hero vehicle carrying everything that we need around Australia. So it all comes down to the Iveco as the primary vehicle we now use on the TV shows. So why is the Iveco the perfect choice for us? Let's now take a look at the good. This platform has been amazing for us. The dual cab setup of this vehicle is just incredible for what we need and what we do. The wheelbase means that it's not that much bigger than a conventional four-wheel drive, but it comes with a GVM that allows us to carry a lot more gear. And that also means that we can fit plenty of accessories, which makes this platform even more functional for our needs. As a four-wheel drive, it's fully street legal and ADR compliant on 37-inch tyres. It's got front, rear and centre diff locks, which are switchable from the dash.
We're going to engage the front and rear diff locks.
And it comes with a twin stick transfer case. So overall, you've got an incredible 100:1 crawl ratio, which makes off-roading an absolute breeze. Now, most people think that the vehicle's too tall and that makes it unstable. But the truth is that there's a lot of air up there in the cabin, and all of the weight with the engine, driveline, gearbox and transfer case is down nice and low. The seats are suspension seats, so they take up all of the impact and rocking and rolling of general off-road and on-road situations. It's a full 12-volt system, so all of the accessories easily integrate, and we can carry a stack of batteries. So we've actually got two cranking batteries plus a massive lithium battery for our dual battery setup that powers a lot of those accessories. So what are some of the additional accessories that make this vehicle so usable, so functional and so perfect for what we do? Let's go and take a closer look. The back of the truck and its overall appearance is dominated by this tray. Now, it was made for me up in Queensland. It's made from high-grade, super tough aluminium, and it's definitely impressed me with some of the bangs and bashes that it's had over the course of its use. The tray gives us easy access to our traction boards. Combined with the GVM of the vehicle, it lets us carry all of our camping gear. And down in here with our toolboxes, we've got control of the lights, we've got the air compressor, the tap, and an on and off switch to drive power to the rear winch, along with a collection of recovery gear and tools. These are also central locked, so they're nice and secure when the vehicle's parked. Our rooftop winch here creates many conversations. I always get asked if it's necessary, but I tell you what, it's got us out of a lot of sticky situations. Alongside our Eco X Gear soundbar and subwoofer. We've got our Carbon Scout Pro 20,000 pound winch, and this is one of the core reasons of why this vehicle is the perfect recovery machine. On each corner, we've got these custom valved King Shocks coilovers. Once you get up to a fair bit of speed, these start smoothing everything out. Now up front here, it is all action, guys. We start with a custom steel bull bar that houses another 20,000 pound Scout Pro carbon winch. We've got a stack of lighting, we've got all of our antennas and aerials, and this is the perfect protection for the front of our vehicle. Now up on top, we've got the Bushwhacker tent. We started with a penthouse, which was amazing, but then we've upgraded to the shack, which gives us a little bit more room at the front for increased ventilation and a stack more internal space. It's a high quality unit that makes sleeping off-road an absolute dream. Well, that all sounds fantastic. Well, let me tell you, the ride with this truck hasn't always been so smooth. Let's now take a look at the bad. Let's start with the AdBlue. Now, in my opinion, that's possibly one of the worst things ever added to a vehicle. When you get down to less than 10% of AdBlue in the tank, or if anything goes wrong with the entire system, you go into a nasty limp mode. It limits power, it limits speed, and it limits the drivability of that vehicle. In outback situations, that could be an absolute disaster. This is a big, heavy vehicle, but unfortunately, it's only armed with a tiny 4-banger that's a 3-litre turbo diesel. You can tune these up for more power by doing an ECU flash, but that isn't an easy or cheap process. Long gone are the days when vehicles were simple and reliable and you could fix them on the side of the track yourself. The amount of electronics in these modern vehicles, and it's not just this truck, it's all of them, is absolutely a nightmare. To give you guys a little bit of insight and understanding of how sensitive these vehicles are and how intrusive the amount of electronics they've got just is, the last meter of the exhaust pipe in this vehicle has at least 4 sensors in it, which means you can't upgrade the exhaust system at all. And it means that last meter of the exhaust pipe under the vehicle is quite susceptible to damage, which again brings us back to those horrible limp modes. Mechanically, the truck has been pretty sound, but we've got something wrong in our front differential assembly, whether it's a slight bend or something else that seems to be causing problems in that front right. So we've gone through a few of what we'll typically call just a CV, and it may not sound like such a big deal, but the problem is, when those units from factory can cost up to $5,000 each for the full assembly, it becomes an extremely expensive and disappointing process. The triple diff lock system in these vehicles is fantastic, but at times it can be slow, laborious and painful to actually get those to lock in. So we have done an ECU upgrade, which overrides the factory settings, which gives us quick, easy and efficient engagement of all the lockers. Well, that is a little insight into some of the good and some of the bad. But overall, this vehicle has been a standout performer. Its off-road ability is literally insane. So now let's take a look at some of the tracks it's conquered and find out why I reckon it is absolutely sexy. We have done so many amazing journeys in this vehicle, but the truck trip to Cobor in Victoria highlighted a couple of very important things for me. With a little bit of a competition, we had an Isuzu, a Hino, a Unimog and the Iveco. Now the Unimog clearly dominated off-road, but what it showed is that the Iveco sits in a unique spot between the other trucks and the Unimog as a seriously capable and high-performance vehicle. But it did just go to show what a solid performer the Iveco is and how well it can do in extreme off-road conditions. At the complete other end of the spectrum was a track we did when touring through the Flinders Ranges. We ventured into Bendelby and took on their most extreme climb, Billy Goat Track. The track is steep, loose and precariously placed on the spine of a mountain, and it is one of the most visually stunning tracks we have done. We were the lead vehicle again on that trip, and we climbed all the way to the top without a single incident, showing again what a great performer this truck is. On another trip to Central Australia, we were just east of Alice Springs in the McDonald Ranges in one of my favourite ever spots, Ruby Gap. Now we were going in late at night and many of the vehicles became bogged in the treacherous soft sand. The Iveco swung into action as the lead recovery vehicle and rescued not only vehicles, but vehicles and their caravans in one single hit. And it's certainly been an anchor for many of the difficulties we've faced on a number of trips. Now talking about recoveries, there was one time in South Australia along that treacherous soft shipwreck coastline that we got ourselves into some hot water with soft sand, pouring rain and a very difficult situation. We had 3 cars stranded on a beach, and luckily because I was towing, I chose not to go over the dunes onto that soft sand. That left the Iveco once again to be the hero, to save the day, and we towed out 3 cars in one single hit. Saving the day, getting everyone to safety and allowing us to complete our trip exploring the Canunda National Park. Another particular trip that I remember was our visit to TJ's four-wheel drive park in central New South Wales. It took all day for us to complete one track and we were virtually recovering vehicles at every single obstacle. That trip also offered up a track and a challenge that was irresistible. This was a great example of where the Iveco's extreme rock crawling ability came into play. We didn't recover it once for that entire day.
Yeah, come on, baby! Oh, yeah!
So as an extreme off-road vehicle, the Iveco's capability is undeniable. One of my favourite tracks though was the Monkey Gum Fire Trail. Now we attempted that before the bushfires and before the Iveco was fully set up on the back of the vehicle, so it was a little bit lighter. But it's one of the country's most extreme and well-known trails. This track is infamous for causing breakages, overnight stays and late night recoveries. Again, we drove the track in one single hit without any recoveries for the Iveco. We took almost all of the bonus lines and we had a stack of fun climbing over the rocks and wheel lifting our way to the top of that track and the amazing view that is the reward at the end of that challenging journey. One of the most surprising tracks we did though was Kangaroo Hill just out of El Dorado in central Victoria. Just over 100 metres of metre-high rock steps, one after the other. It was tough, grueling and challenging. It took all of the diff locks, capability and skill that I had to get us to the top, and we did it in flying form. Now we also discovered something very important about the Iveco on the trip back down, and that is that our roofline needs protection. We leaned over and brushed against a tree which left a small dent in the top rear left of the cabin.
Just touching that tree. That wasn't good.
That inspired me to fit the EXO cage, which now doubles as a holder for our solar panel and our roof-mounted forward lighting. Coming out of COVID, we had the opportunity to do one of my favourite tracks, Deep Creek 1 in the Victorian High Country. The truck made light work of the creek, the rocks, the water and all of the challenges within. But it was the climb out that was absolutely hair-raising for me. Almost all of our vehicles were struggling to make it to the top. Most needed to be winched and the Iveco was no different. It was a steep, nasty drive to get as far as we did and a short but nervous winch to get us up and over the top. As tough as it was still a great testament to the stability and capability of the vehicle along with the confidence I have in it and its accessories. And if you're still thinking that this vehicle should not be off-road and it's not capable, then we've saved the ultimate challenge for last. Beer O'Clock Hill is well known up at the Springs 4x4 Park as the ultimate challenge for four-wheel drives. We put the Iveco through it and it did it in one clean sweep.
Yeah!
So overall, I have been blown away with the sheer capability, performance, agility and overall off-road ability of this truck. So when it comes down to being sexy, I think this truck has plenty of appeal. As outstanding as this truck is, it's a big vehicle, so things can very quickly get very ugly. So let's now take a look at some of the big breakages from our big adventures. We've already mentioned the CVs in these vehicles, which are actually double cardan universal joint drive shafts. We've actually broken the driver's side one on 2 separate occasions. One of them on the TJ's trip, and the second one was done on a trip we did to another four-wheel drive park just out of Cooma. Now usually articulation is a good thing, but we were crossing a deep rut earlier this year when the front left tyre was tucked up so tight into the guard that it actually tore our preliminary diesel filter off the chassis, which initiated a very interesting repair that allowed us to complete that trip and get back home to Melbourne. We've unfortunately had to replace 2 turbos on this vehicle, and it's not because there was any problem with the turbo itself. In one case at Rainbow Beach, we took a slightly deeper dip into salt water than we expected, and on a trip through the Blue Mountains, we ran the Iveco along an interesting creek section. In both cases, a minute amount of water was sucked into the vacuum line, with the result being the vehicle being thrown into limp mode. It's great to be able to carry a lot of extra load, but the overall weight of this vehicle has caused a number of dramas. On one particular trip, we took on the deepest, nastiest bog hole that we could possibly find. That put us into a situation where we had to inflate the tyre using a technique that I've done many times before. And while those might be ugly, they don't even come close to what happened during our trip to Coffs Harbour, where we did something in the Iveco that we've never done before.
Yeah, baby. Come on, you can do it.
Now, we never do things in halves, and on the last trip we actually tipped the Iveco over.
It's blown over.
It was one of those things where I got caught out and the big truck went over for the first time ever. A 3-metre tall truck creates an environment where it's a long way to fall. But it was a slow and relatively controlled rollover, and we got out of it almost unscathed.
You okay?
I'm okay, you okay, baby?
Yes.
There are a few battle scars to remind me of what happened, and the wrap seems to disguise them quite nicely. With a number of shifting issues in the gearbox itself, and the transfer case snapped off one of its mounts, thanks to some of my rock crawling adventures, gave us the opportunity to take it into a couple of our favourite workshops and have those repairs looked at. This is 4x4 Obsession on the west side of Melbourne, and this is where the Iveco comes to lick its wounds, get patched up before we take it out onto the tracks for more abuse. The rollover was epic. There's really not a lot to tell in the damage that was done, but let's take a look at some of the battle scars. There's just a little bit of cosmetic damage here to the headboard, the rear pillar, and this door. This window got smashed out, but the crew here have already replaced it. The snorkel took an absolute flogging but survived, as did the headlight, and this panel is slightly caved in. This guard will need a little bit of work, but the ARB steel bull bar held up perfectly and realistically supported a lot of the weight of the vehicle. The real victim of the day though was the transfer case. This got caught on a massive rock as we were trying to make that last climb up washout track. You can see we've snapped one of the side mounts right off from the casing here. That we're hopefully going to get welded back on. And they ended up doing a stunning job, even reinforcing the bracket on the other side. Whilst the team here at 4x4 Obsession are working their magic to get the big truck back on the road, we've pulled the gearbox out for some routine maintenance, and that's actually way over on the other side of town at 360 Gearboxes and Diffs. Now these guys are the absolute magicians when it comes to 4x4 manual gearboxes. Let's head inside, check out what they do, and find my gearbox, see what state it's in. Well, here's the gearbox. They've already got it stripped down, and I dare say it's looking a lot cleaner than what it would have first been like when it came out. Now the experts here have given a bit of a review of what they've found when they've stripped it all apart, and they said they're actually really surprised with what good condition it's in, considering how I drive, and they've been out on plenty of trips with us in the past. The synchros, as I expected, mainly for second, they've basically bottomed out. They've got no clearance left in them, and they need to be replaced. First, which I didn't know, is also bottomed out and needs replacing. Fourth, I was starting to feel was getting a little bit sticky, maybe even sixth, but they're actually in good condition. The fifth and sixth gears right here have got a little bit of wear on them, but again, considering the life of the gearbox, it's not worth replacing those. And 360 Gearboxes and Diffs have a few secret tricks up their sleeve for making sure that those, the main shaft, the input shaft, are all in the best possible condition they can be in when they go back in the box. So I'm really excited, guys. 360 are going to do their magic right across this box. They've already cryo-treated some of the parts to ensure that they can be the strongest they're going to be. So the cryo treatment is an extreme cold and an extreme hot treatment process that changes the metallurgical, the crystalline structure of the surface of the metal, making it stronger, which means it's going to last a lot longer. So you get much better life out of the performance of your gearbox. And this will all be put back together by the experts. A full set of new bearings through it, and I'm going to be ready to rock and roll back on the tracks very soon. That's the good, the bad, the sexy, and the ugly. But why have we still got this vehicle? Well, even though it's a love-hate relationship, there is nothing at all on the market that can do everything this vehicle does. It carries all the food, gear, and equipment we need for our adventures. It's superbly comfortable, and it's amazing off-road. So for now, the Iveco is going to stick around. But our eyes are open, and we might be just looking for something new very soon. So now that the vehicle is all fixed up, the only thing left to do is take it back to Coffs Harbour and drive that track that I rolled it on to prove that I can actually do it. Now, if we were going to trade it in, what should we get next? Something bigger, something smaller, something more conventional, or something completely different? We'd love to hear from you guys, so leave a comment below. Tell us what you reckon the 4WD TV team should be driving next.